Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now July 18th of 2025, and just recently CBS and Stephen Colbert made the official announcement that his show, Late Night, of course, with Stephen Colbert, is going off the air. That rhymes, by the way. Off in 2026, alright, specifically in May of 2026. It's going off, it's going to be no more, nobody's going to be replaced. The entire show is just going to be, of course, scrubbed. And that, of course, is creating a lot of uproar, not just from his own fans, but even from a lot of celebrities out there, now including Jimmy Kimmel. Let's get into it. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, what's really interesting here has a lot more to do with the fact that not only did Colbert himself get very defensive, just recently we covered this, about how he does indeed believe that this is something that was entirely, orchestrated by Trump himself, and how there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Now Jimmy Kimmel is actually falling into that argument and is really beginning to actually show a lot of emotions, and how it's beginning to look very pathetic on his end, because we know that Jimmy Kimmel is yet again another late night show host that makes everything political at every single second that he gets out there, right? So what's interesting here has a lot to do with the fact that Stephen Colbert, alright, yes, of course, this was scrubbed, his show was canceled, days after the settlement took place between CBS and Trump. Interestingly enough, though, alright, listen to Kimmel here. Now, with the Stephen Colbert show now canceled by CBS, and many differing opinions going on whether Trump had to do with something related to that or not, already creating a division within the public, one major development going on now involves more to do with Jimmy Kimmel crying, yet again, now over the cancellation of Stephen Colbert. Now, Kimmel recently delivered the following. I am in tears right now, just flat out tears, over the cancellation of a great show. A great, honest program that properly exposed the real man who Trump was. Unfortunately, I am so sad to inform everyone that we have lost a great friend from CBS, Stephen Colbert. They decided to make a terrible decision, and a decision that I think is a big mistake, and bowing down to a con man, a con President Trump. But they decided to end his show starting next year, and there will be no replacement. Stephen, as you may or may not know, is a great friend of mine despite our competition. I'm just so choked up and sad to see this great, honest man going away on television who exposed the entire Trump presidency every single night, and a man who inspired me to do the same, along with my producers and my entire team, to do the same exact thing. We are now living under an administration who is just not the commander-in-chief, but a terrible human being who wants to be the editor-in-chief. Trump is no editor-in-chief. He wishes, but he's not. This is called abusing his power and intimidating others to fall from free speech. We are living in a very terrible time right now, and when I heard the news, when I woke up and I just felt this rush of sadness. I practically cried learning about the power this man has now over our great country. Now, let me be clear, CBS says they did this as a strict financial decision. I don't believe that one bit. I think that we can all agree here that Trump absolutely had an influence over that decision. I am just so choked up. We have lost a legendary program that called out all the nonsense to a narcissist. This is the country that we are living in right now, and the reason why I am getting so emotional is that it makes you wonder, well, who's next to be bossed around by the editor-in-chief? I think everyone should be asking themselves that right now. So I ask everyone to please, back and support your favorite late night show hosts, actors, and directors, because you never know when this terrible man will come swooping in to claim it as his own, to do whatever he wants to do with it. Now guys, let me just stop right there about what Kimmel is actually spewing out there. He's really going off. I mean, he's beginning to sound like he lost somebody personally, as if somebody actually died. But what's interesting about here is the fact that Jimmy Kimmel obviously is very on edge. I think that he knows that his time is short, that he's either going to be canceled next, or he's going to be forced without a contract renewal at the tail end of this year leading into 2026. So you guys may or may not know this, but ABC is run by Disney. Disney is dealing with a lot of ratings disasters lately. The Kimmel Show, by the way, is not doing all that well, especially now in July of 2025, as we approach the later half of this year. It's not looking good for Kimmel as a way out. Now look, we already know that Kimmel if once he's gone, that pretty much boils it down to Seth Meyers. That's another one, that's another late night show that really just made every single thing about it political, practically. We need more people like, Conan O'Brien back, more people like Jay Leno back, or even Johnny Carson. They didn't really make things political. They may have had their own politics, that's different. They kept it to themselves on their shows, for the most part. They didn't really put it on their programs, so that I do respect. But when you're looking at people like Colbert, Meyers, and Kimmel, even Fallon sometimes, they really do just drag a lot of politics into entertainment. And I guess you could say the most apolitical host out of all right now where it stands is Fallon. I may not be a fan of him, but he's at least the least political one out there compared to all the others. Now, this is a sick individual, he says. I am just appalled at what he did to CBS and Stephen. I feel like I'm living in a dream right now that shows are now getting canceled under a president, who is a false president, by the way. I think that we could all agree on how horrible he is. Well, I'm sure many late-night hosts are going to be busier than ever next year once Stephen leaves us. Alright guys, let me just say one thing about that. Notice how he says other late-night hosts will be busy next year once Stephen leaves. I'm very intrigued that Jimmy Kimmel didn't say I will be busy next year. So that could very well be a little subtle sign that he's admitting that he's not going to actually face a contract renewal. In fact, he will be facing a contract expiration, and it will not be renewed. That's a very big possibility. Again, it could have just been a choice of words there. He goes on the end and goes elsewhere, but I think it will only make things more interesting, and to those that don't think this cancellation was related to Trump, even if you are my supporters of mine, shame on you. Alright, so look, we know that Jimmy Kimmel's stumbling upon his words. He's getting very emotional. He hasn't, this isn't the first time that he's cried or admitted that he's tearing up or choking up over things, right? He did this once Trump won on election night. We all saw what happened there. The day after, I believe it was, when his first episode aired after November the 5th. Interestingly enough, though, again, when you're looking at things like this with Stephen Colbert, look, whether you like the guy or not, I think that we could all agree that that level of politics on a late-night program that is not branded as a political show was utter nonsense. Alright, you want to have Stephen Colbert go on a political program, that's different, but this is a late-night television program. It's supposed to be things like, for example, what Conan O'Brien was, Jay Leno, and among others out there that are no longer on air. I think that when you're looking at everything in isolation here, you can really see the contrast. But overall, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about Stephen Colbert, about Jimmy Kimmel getting very emotional. I was never a fan of Jimmy Kimmel on the late night programming. We all know that ABC is a terrible channel. We know that it's all run by Disney. They use people like Kimmel as a political talking head. That's just a typical thing by the Walt Disney Company, which, by the way, they are actually essentially owned by the top three shareholders, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. It has to be called out. It has to be said time and time again. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.